Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, today I'll be playing the Time Warps list that I was trying to build last stream before we devolved into collected conjuring nonsense, which was amazing. But this is a list by Daniel Wong, who I believe is in the Time Warps Discord group, the Taking Turns Discord group, as Time Walking on Sunshine. And they've been working on this deck for a while, and they've had some success, because I've remembered them having lists from a while ago even. And it's something that I haven't gotten to play yet that has always interested me. So the concept behind this deck is you kind of it's almost a tempo deck, but you kind of play like Dreadhorde Arcanist as a value engine instead of just straight up like Howling Mine, drawing you extra cards and your opponent extra cards. You play Dreadhorde Arcanist. You start flashing back, cantrips like Opt and Serum Visions to draw you cards, get through your deck faster. Lightning Bolts for extra damage to help close out the game. Ancestral Visions if you're lucky and this card happens to come off suspend or gets discarded somehow. Then you're drawing a whole bunch of cards with Dreadhorde Arcanist. We've got Snapcaster Mage as an additional flash beater threat. We have Remand to interact with our opponent a bit. Brazen Borrower does a pretty good disperse impression and then also follows up with a very aggressive flying body. We have Jace the Mind Sculptor as an additional draw engine, because once you start getting extra turns, having Jace is just amazing. Cryptic Command, just all around good spell. Answers basically every situation, provided you can actually cast it. 3 cards that are actually called Time Warp, so you take an extra turn after this one. One thing that I do like, first off, is Temporal Mastery. I love Temporal Mastery. This is one of my favorite cards. It's one of the first cards I started to try and build jank decks around back in Standard when I first started playing the game. But really good with Jace the Mind Sculptor, because if you have them in hand, then you just brainstorm and you put several Temporal Masteries back on top of your deck, and then you just start taking a whole bunch of extra turns, and then even if Jace dies, everything is should be good. But also Commandeer. Commandeer is a spell that has held a special place in my heart for a very long time. Way back in the day, when I first started playing Mono Blue Time Warps, which is one of the ways that I started to get views as a YouTube channel and a Twitch streamer, I would play Commandeer out of the sideboard because you just absolutely destroy Tron or Jund. If they cast Liliana, you Commandeer their Planeswalker, the Planeswalker resolves under your control, and then you get to be the first person to activate it. It's a very powerful effect. And it was kind of like the first free counterspell of Modern because, other than Disrupting Shoal, or Pact. But Commandeer was so much better because even though you're pitching 3 cards, you can use it as a Force of Will effect, where you change the target of your opponent's counterspell to Commandeer, which is no longer on the stack when Commandeer finishes resolving. So their counterspell then fizzles. Or, like I said, you can steal Planeswalkers with it. And if you do that, you're probably going to win. It's also an effect that not a lot of people anticipate, and you can use it on your own turn, unlike Force of Negation now. So, if I'm trying to resolve a Jace and I really need Jace to resolve, I can play Jace, and if I've got, Commandeer and 2 other blue cards in my hand, and my opponent's low on resources and spends a counterspell, or Assassin's Trophy, you can definitely just gain control of it and redirect it either on Commandeer or something else. That's the other thing, is this actually can act like a misdirection as well. So, or redirect. You can just change the target of the spell that you're commandeering, which is an incredibly powerful effect. If your opponent's casting a kill spell on Dreadhorde Arcanist, you can protect him. If your opponent's got a creature, you can just redirect the kill spell on their own creature. But that's one of the reasons why Commandeer is such an expensive spell, is because it's super powerful. In the mana base, there's nothing too interesting to write home about. It's pretty standard blue-red mana base. Not a lot of fetch lands. The ones that do exist are split between 4 different fetch lands that are blue. And kind of the logic behind this, as best as I can tell, is to kind of fake that you're playing a different deck. So if you start, Flooded Strand, Island, Misty Rainforest, and Flooded Strand's fetching an island, or you haven't fetched yet, your opponent's gonna they're you're playing Bant, or you're playing Simic, or you're playing Uro, or you're playing Control, or it makes it harder to read your opener, which with a deck like this actually does matter quite a bit, especially because most of the standard cantrips that you have are so ubiquitous in Modern, and even Ancestral Visions. Like, if you suspend Ancestral Visions, even after playing, like, a Scalding Tarn, they're going to be like, oh, he's playing Blue-Red Control, or he's playing Blue-Red, as foretold Time Warps or something. And it makes it difficult to react in time. But, of course, that's only going to work once. So, if you can get that in the opening, first game of the match, then it's going to be useful. If not, then it just blue fetches. Most of the time, the life total isn't going to matter as far as like fetching and shocking. We have a lot of non-damaging lands. So we have like River Glide Pathway and Sulphur Falls. And I kind of like that. Normally when I play a blue deck or a Time Warp deck, I like to homogenize on islands simply because of Blood Moon. Except I haven't seen that much Blood Moon in the metagame right now. And so I think this is the correct sort of mana base because odds are, if you're going to run into some spell hating on your mana base, it's going to be Choke. I actually have run into Choke recently, and it sucked. But you know what? I think I've rambled enough about... I haven't even talked about the sideboard yet. I should talk about the sideboard. So in the sideboard, we have Burst Lightnings and a Braid, just as kind of like some additional creature removal. Burst Lightning's extra reach. It is flashbackable with Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is great. We've got Anger of the Gods to help sweep the board versus decks like Dredge, or some kind of like Zoo deck that's going wide. Thing in the Ice can provide an additional clock. This card is not my favorite, but I understand that this deck is playing more of a tempo game rather than a control game. And this is an incredible tempo swing if you can get it to flip, because it basically unsummons everything, and then you get to attack for 7 when your opponent has no blockers. So you can close the game out very quickly. And in a deck full of lightning bolts and flashback lightning bolts, it should kill your opponent very fast. We have Mystical Dispute as our counterspell, sideboard counterspell of choice. Just versus other blue decks, this becomes a 1-mana mana leak, which is very good. We also have Force of Negations, just for some additional counter stuff on my opponent's turn kind of thing. I can tap out for a Dreadhorde Arcanist, and if my opponent tries to answer it on their own turn when I'm tapped out, I can protect it with Force of Negation. An additional Commandeer. Makes me happy to see it in mainboard and sideboard. I love that card. And, of course, Aether Gust, because Aether Gust is very powerful. Countering a red or green spell that can't be countered, or removing a red or green permanent, and having your opponent choose whether to put it on top or bottom of their deck. If they put it on top and they have to redraw it, it's kind of like taking an extra turn, because then they have to recast it. But if it's something that has haste, or if it's a planeswalker, then they're going to get the ability to re-uptick it, and that's it's not as like Time Warp-ish, but it's still a very powerful effect. Glad to see it at least as a one-of. And our Grave Hate of choice is Surgical Extraction, which, as a singleton, I'm not really sure about hedging my bets with it, but it is flashbackable with Dreadhorde Arcanist, so I understand why it's Surgical Extraction. I don't mind having to pay the life. This card is powerful. It also synergizes well with Snapcaster Mage, because you can Surgical on turn 2, and then if your opponent has a different spell in their hand that's also in their grave, you can Snapcaster Surgical Extraction and then take it from their hand, and it kind of becomes this insane, like, Mind Rot plus Grave Hate plus Memoricide. It's definitely one of the more powerful Grave Hates in the format. I just don't like it quite as much in a deck that's not, like, Thought Scouring my opponent or milling them. But it has its edge cases and can definitely disrupt some decks. Okay, I think I've talked about everything now, so I'm going to go to a competitive constructed league, and I will see you guys in round 1. Alrighty, round 1, here we go. We are on the play, which is good. No payoff, but we get to do turn 1 Ancestral Visions, potentially turn 2 double Serum Visions, and we have Lightning Bolt. So I think I'm alright with this. I'm going to start by fetching a basic island. I'm going to suspend Ancestral, pass the turn. Generally, I find like getting this down as early as possible tends to be pretty important. Alright, Ancestral Visions ticking down. We draw Sulphur Falls, so Serum Visions. Draw Serum Visions, Lightning Bolt, and Dreadhorde Arcanist. I mean, I kind of want both of these cards. My opponent is on blue-red, so they're either Control or they're Blitz. If they're Blitz, Arcanist probably will never resolve because of a Bolt. If they're Control, Arcanist also won't resolve because of a Bolt. However, Blitz is more likely, and if we have Arcanist and an opponent expends a Bolt on Arcanist, that means it's a Bolt not going at our face. And I do want the other Lightning Bolt because If it's Blitz, I want Bolt to interact with my opponent's board. So I'm going to play Sulphur Falls and pass. I'm also playing Sulphur Falls to not have to take damage off of Steam Vents. I've given up on hiding what I am entirely, so opponent opts. Opponent could also be Storm, in which case we do want the Lightning Bolts because we want to be able to interact with what our opponent is doing. Alright, we untap. Ancestral Vision's ticking down. Draw Arcanist. I think I am just going to run out a Naked Arcanist this turn. I may or may not shock Steam Vents. I know we're drawing Lightning Bolt next turn. Yeah, I'm just going to play Steam Vents tapped, and we'll pass. Now, I have played Time Warp decks in the past, but all of them have been vastly different than this deck, so I don't really know what I should be doing. I don't know the optimal lines. I could actually be playing the Mirror Match right now, because that's all the right lands. It could also be, like Kiki Combo or Breach. Okay, we untap. Ancestral Vision ticking down. We draw Lightning Bolt. So, Serum Visions. We draw Arcanist. This is turn 4. I don't really want to draw Mikokoro, but I'm kind of happy drawing an island. I don't know if I want to Bolt before attacking. I want to draw that island sometime this turn. We have Ancestral Visions coming off Suspend next turn. I'm going to expend a Bolt. I want to see if my opponent has interaction, and if they do, I want them to take out Dreadhorde Arcanist, basically. Okay, Lightning Bolt our opponent. Taking this line, though, does mean I've given up on casting Lightning Bolt during my opponent's turn. They will only be on 4 mana, so if they're Kiki Combo, they can't just win. Dreadhorde Arcanist to the bottom. I don't need a third one. I'm going to leave Commandeer on top, because if Ancestral Visions resolves, we're going to draw like 8 cards, and then we'll have Commandeer. Okay, it's Storm. And because it's Storm, I probably played against this incorrectly. Let's see what pile they grab. If it's just the standard Storm pile, the correct choice is generally to dump the rituals. Just because they need mana to go off, but if they have mana, they're going to go off. Without knowing what's in their hand for certain, I think that's pretty much what I always do. So, this is a non-standard Storm pile, as in, like, not just the pile of rituals plus Past in Flames. I think the correct choice is to dump the cost reducers and give our opponent the ritual. If they have a cost reducer in hand, they're going to get ritual Past in Flames. So if they have cost reducer, ritual, Past in Flames, we're toast. And they have 7 cards in hand, so that's pretty likely. Okay. No cost reducer lead. That's good. This could just be an Empty the Warrens. This could actually be the no cost reducer Storm hand. It's just like Past in Flames, cast all the rituals. That gets them somewhere, that's for sure. So they Desperate Ritual, Manamorphose, and drawing lots of cards. If they have to cast Gifts Ungiven, and I don't know, if they have a Storm card in hand, we're probably just dead. But if they have to cast Gifts Ungiven to combo, they may not have enough mana to flashback Past in Flames, so as long as they don't have like 3 or more Storm payoffs, we might actually be able to win that way. Okay. Oh, Grape Shot, Remand Grape Shot. Okay, cool. No worries. We gained valuable information. We now know what we're playing against. So Force of Negation's in. Mystical Dispute's in. I don't really want Remand. Jace is probably going to be a little bit too slow. I think I would rather just have more interaction. Not 100% on that. Definitely want Surgical, though. I definitely want Commandeer in the deck still. You know what? Let's just load up on like free counter spells. I may want Burst Lightning just for more damage to help close this out faster, but I think with all of the interaction I just brought in, as long as we play semi-intelligently, we should be fine. Yeah, I would like to play first. This works for me. I'll keep. So we're going to be playing a blue-red control deck versus Storm. So start Steam Vents. Suspend Ancestral, pass the turn. So probably what I should have done, and what I probably should do in most cases, is if I get the opportunity to attack with Dreadhorde, and we know we don't have to turn up the heat immediately by, like, Bolt, Flashback, Bolt, I probably just need to draw as many cards as possible, because Like, just getting a bunch of free counter spells and dumping the extra cards in our hand to pay for the free counter spells is probably the way to go. So opponent led on Serum Visions. I don't particularly care about how they scry right now. Our Ancestral Vision ticking down. We draw Cryptic. Play Sulphur Falls. Pass. Opponent untaps. They play an island. Okay, opponent foretells a card. So, I think I want to opt. Try and hit a third land. Time Warp to the bottom. We draw River Glide Pathway. Okay, untap. Ancestral Vision ticking down. We draw Sulphur Falls. Play Sulphur Falls. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I probably should have just flashed Snapcaster earlier, instead of going, like, for a ton of greed off of, like, a Bolt Snap Bolt play. But I'm also trying to play safe and keep my counter spells open as much as possible. Okay, Ancestral Vision's ticking down to 1. We draw Snapcaster. So play River Glide Pathway, pass the turn. Okay. Opponent plays a Snow-Covered Island. So on their end step, Snapcaster, target Lightning Bolt. I really don't like that that shows up under that other prompt. Okay, Lightning Bolt my opponent's face. I would force if they tried to Gifts here. Okay, we untap. Ancestral Visions. Coming off Suspend. Target ourself. Okay, we draw Commandeer. That'll be fun. Play Flooded Strand. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 2. They go to 12. Fetch for a basic island. Play Dreadhorde Arcanist. Alright. Pass the turn. Opponent casts Behold the Multiverse. They have another one foretold as well. I don't think I'm going to counter this. It's strong, but we have 2 counter spells for our opponent's turn. We have Hardcast Force of Negation, and then Commandeer pitching the rest of our hand. So if my opponent were to cast, like, a Gifts, I would Commandeer it, and if they cast a Past in Flames, I will force. I technically also have Snapcaster plus Opt, in addition to that. So opponent now has 10 cards in hand. They should be able to storm here, I imagine. Okay, they play a second red source. They play Baral. Desperate Ritual. They only have 1 blue mana right now. They probably don't actually need that much. We'll allow the Desperate Ritual to resolve. They Desperate Ritual again. Now they opt. Sure. They have no blue mana now. Okay, because they have no blue mana, I think what I'm gonna do is cast Force. Just hard cast it. They have another Manamorphose, this is bad, but if they don't, they're in trouble. Okay, they Grape Shot X6 for a total of 7 damage. X being Storm Count. I don't know why I said X. Okay, they're gonna kill Dreadhorde Arcanist and Snap. I would really like this Dreadhorde Arcanist to survive. And this is the only other copy that's targeting it. This is a really huge gamble. But if Dreadhorde Arcanist survives, it draws us 3 cards to replace the 3 cards I just pitched. Change the target to my opponent, then we take a couple, and then Snapcaster dies. Okay, they also have Empty the Warrens. That's a lot of goblins. I feel bad about not having Cryptic now. We untap. We draw another Dreadhorde Arcanist. So play Scalding Tarn, fetch with Scalding Tarn, get an island, go to combat, attack with Arcanist, flashback Ancestral Visions, target ourselves, Lightning Bolt, and Time Warp. Well, if they only block it with 3 goblins, we can bolt a goblin to keep it alive. Okay, they're just blocking with Baral. That is fine. So what I'm going to do is bolt my opponent, cast Time Warp, untap, draw, island, play an island, go to combat, attack with Arcanist, flashback opt. It's better than flashback, we don't even have to pay the cost. I'll draw Serum Visions. Okay, they block with Baral. Serum Visions. Yep, alright. I can play another Arcanist, but there's nothing else I can do. I needed, like, a Snapcaster. Well, actually, I needed to draw a Snapcaster off of Opt. That's what had to happen there, but... Alright. I learned a few things. I don't think I played that anywhere near optimally, but I'm going to try and do better for the next game. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright. Round 2, here we go. Yeah, I think this is fine. We'll keep. Play Island. Suspend Ancestral Visions. Alright. Opponent's turn 1. They start Flooded Strand. Alright. They pass to us. We untap. Ancestral Visions ticking down. We draw Scalding Tarn. Play Misty. So we're going to try and hide what we are a little bit. I don't know what deck plays the combination of 3 cards that our opponent sees. But we are in the 0-1 bracket, so we could be anything. Let's go ahead and opt. Flooded Strand at the bottom. Draw Steam Vents. Crack Misty. Get a Steam Vents tapped. We untap. Ancestral Visions ticking down. Draw Polluted Delta. Play Polluted Delta. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Plains. Fetch up another island. We untap. Ancestral Visions ticking down. We draw Jace. Yeah, I'm just going to play an island and leave up Cryptic. Kind of seems like we're playing against control, and it has for a while. If we're not, opponent might get wrecked by the ensuing series of plays. Opponent cracks Windswept Teeth into a Noble Hierarch. Yeah, that's fine. So this is probably Spirits, I imagine. I am going to repulse my opponent's Noble, I think. So if they're playing Spell Queller, I want them to use it on Cryptic Command so Ancestral Visions resolves. Because that way I can play Jace, but we drew Lightning Bolt, so everything's fine. So I'm kind of expecting a Spell Queller here. Ancestral Visions coming off Suspend, target ourself. We draw a bunch of cards. We draw Dreadhorde Arcanist, play an island, play Jace. Opponent cracks Flooded Strand for an island, cracks Flooded Strand for an island. Spell Queller, I was right. They exile Jace. Queller gets bolted. Jace resolves. Well, unless they have Force, which I doubt. Brainstorm, as they have no board. We put back... they just scoop. they cannot beat a resolve Jace. Alright. Versus Spirits. Commandeer does not do a lot, and neither does Force of Negation. Both can matter for something like Aether Vial, but really, I don't think that's the route we should be on. So I'm going to drop Commandeer, and I'm going to drop Remand. And in their place, I'm going to bring in Burst Lightning, Abrade. I guess it's a question of Mystical Dispute or Anger of the Gods. And without our free counter spells, or without Commandeer specifically, Anger of the Gods is going to be a little bit difficult to resolve. It still could matter quite a bit, though, as it's our only real sweeper. I guess we do have Cryptic, but it's not really a sweeper. It just taps down stuff. I could play Thing in the Ice. Most Spirits that they're going to play have Flash, though. I think I'm going to bring in Mystical Dispute. Just the one. And we'll try it like this. Yeah, I'm going to keep this. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but we can at least snipe a Mana Dork and then maybe resolve Dreadhorde Arcanist. Okay. Play Polluted Delta, pass the turn. Opponent plays Glacial Floodplain, Windswept Teeth. They pass. So we're going to fetch up a Steam Vents. Tapped. Untap. We draw Serum Visions. Play Serum Visions. Draw Jace. Steam Vents to the bottom. Lightning Bolt to the top. Play Sulphur Falls. Pass. I would Burst Lightning or Rattle Chains here. Ice Fang Quaddle. So this could just be Bant. If that's the case, I think I sideboarded incorrectly. Opponent goes to combat without playing a third land. I will Burst Lightning. Next turn, we're going to play Dreadhorde Arcanist and try and leave up Bolt. Stoneforge. Yeah, it's banned. Okay. That means I am going to use my Lightning Bolt basically immediately. I don't want them to get any other clock situation down. Okay. They do have a third land, which is going to be problematic if they do have Spell Queller, but if they have to Path Arcanist, that's going to get us up to enough mana that they're going to be in trouble. And if they don't Path Arcanist, is going to be a pretty fast clock. Opponent plays Windswept Teeth. Cracks Windswept Teeth for Plains. into another Stoneforge Mystic. Alright. They get a Batter Skull. We untap, draw Arcanist, play Mikokoro, go to combat, attack, cast Burst Lightning. It's nice that you can kick Burst Lightning, but not necessary here. Opponent remands the Burst Lightning. That doesn't seem right. I don't think that should go to my hand. Isn't it like Snapcaster? That spell would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. No, that has different text on it. That goes to our hand. Alright, new plan. Play Jace. Yeet Mystic. Pass the turn. They could replay Mystic if they want. We've got a bunch of Burst Lightnings for it. Opponent plays Teferi, Time Raveler. Yeets Dreadhorde Arcanist. Sure. But unless they've got a Force or a Mana Tithe, I think they're going to be in for a very, very rude awakening. I'm going to put back Arcanist, Arcanist. Play Sulphur Falls. I'm going to cast Time Warp on myself. Alright, next turn. We untap, draw Arcanist, Brainstorm. Not what I wanted. Guess I'll put back Arcanist, Arcanist. Time Warp, target myself. Untap. We draw Arcanist, Brainstorm. There are the lands. Okay. Put back Arcanists. Play an island. Burst Lightning to Fairy. And then I'll leave up, or I guess I'll cast Serum Visions and then leave up Cryptic. So Dreadhorde Arcanist, Scalding Tarn, Dreadhorde Arcanist to the bottom. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. I mean, that's pretty scary. We got like so many Brainstorms. Opponent casts a Fairy. Counter draw. We know they don't have a counter spell. They have Veil. Okay, that makes sense. Well, we still get to draw. An opponent doesn't answer Jace. That's what's important. They uptick to Fairy. Play a Hallowed Fountain tapped. Alright. Well, we have a whole bunch of draws. Let me think. I think we start Opt. Ancestral Visions to the bottom. Draw an island. Cast Opt. Brazen Borrower. Yeah, I kind of want to draw Brazen Borrower. Now we Brainstorm. We put back Snapcaster Mage. Temporal Mastery. Then we play Sulphur Falls. Bolt to Fairy. The reason we're not Brazen Borrowing here is because Teferi actually needs to die. We can't have them replay it because then we lose our Temporal Mastery. Like, we can't cast it. Snapcaster. I'm going to go with Burst Lightning because it does less damage. Burst Lightning to Fairy. Pass the turn. And then if our opponent does something like, I don't know, play Batter Skull next turn, they're done. Absolutely toast. Okay, opponent plays a land. 3 mana. 4 mana, they play Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Oh, it's Squirrel Blade! We untap. Miracle Temporal Mastery. Cast Temporal. It resolves. Okay. Brainstorm. Put back 1 island and an Arcanist. Play Riverglide Pathway. Petty Theft. Bounce Toski. Play Arcanist. Nice mana leak. Alright. Lightning Bolt our opponent. I'm pretty sure I did those spells in the correct order, and if they had a counter spell, Arcanist getting countered I think was the most fine out of all of them. Okay. So we untap. We draw Arcanist. Brainstorm. Put back Island, play a fetch land, shuffle those lands away, get an island, Snapcaster Mage, target Time Warp ourselves, then play Arcanist, and the game is over. That's how we drew it up. That's what we want to happen. Alright, I will see you all in round 3. Alrighty, round 3. This seems like a decent opener. I did not fix my Lightning Bolt Arts before I started this league. Alright, well, we'll keep. Opponent starts Mountain. Passes. We draw an island. Play Flooded Strand. Pass the turn. Opponent bolts our face, so they are, in fact, burn. Opponent shocks Sacred Foundry. Passes. Flooded Strand. We get a Steam Vents tapped. Untap. We draw Mikokoro. Play a snow-covered island, excuse me. Play Dreadhorde Arcanist, pass the turn. Opponent probably going to Boros Charm us. Yep. Down to 12. They untap. They play Sunbaked Canyon into an Eidolon of the Great Revel. Alright, we untap and draw Time Warp. Start by bolting Eidolon. Cast Serum Visions. We draw Snapcaster Mage. Dreadhorde Arcanist to the bottom. We have enough lands. I don't think I'm going to get a Sulphur Falls here. And I'm not going to shock for a Steam Vents. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 1, because we do need some card draw. Cast Serum Visions. Jace and Time Warp. Jace is a good play next turn, and I wouldn't mind drawing another Time Warp after that. So we hit our opponent for 1, down to 17. Opponent untaps. Now they're either holding a lot of lands or a lot of 2-mana spells. They attack us for 1. Boros Charm for 4 damage. Okay. Down to 4. We untap. We draw Jace. So go to combat. Attack. Flashback Lightning Bolt. Kill Swift Spear. Now the question is, do we leave up Snap Bolt? We're dead to any 2 burn spells. We're dead to Boros Charm. We have Time Warp on top of our deck. I think I have to brainstorm and see if I can't hit like a Commandeer. I could have Bolt, Snap Bolt, in case they had like a bunch of dudes or something, or like Dude plus Bolt. That's not what I wanted. Put back Riverglide Pathway, put back Time Warp. Pass the turn. Well, it's come down to basically if we untap, we win. If we don't, we're dead. Alright, we untap, so hopefully that means we win. Play an island. Brainstorm with Jace. Ancestral Visions, Arcanist. Put back Arcanist, and I guess Mikokoro. Time Warp, target ourself. If my opponent's slow rolling burn, they'll use it now. They Skullcrack us down to 1. Then they pass. Oh, I missed a damage. That's my bad. Okay, we untap. We draw Mikokoro. Brainstorm. Put back Arcanist, Mikokoro. Play Sulphur Falls. Lightning Bolt our opponent. Cast Time Warp on ourselves. Go to combat. Attack our opponent for 3. Flashing back Lightning Bolt. Hitting our opponent. I really hope that 1 damage doesn't matter. I'll be a little upset if it does. I don't think it does because we have Snapcaster, Time Warp, and then we can unsummon with Jace, Snapcaster, Time Warp if we need to. We get to Brainstorm this turn. Putting back Arcanist, Mikokoro. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 1. They're down to 6. We untap. Draw Mikokoro. So we're now at 8 mana, which means we can opt. Dreadhorde Arcanist to the bottom. We draw Arcanist. Go to combat. Attack, attack. We can flashback opt here. Bolt to the top. Hit our opponent down to 3, and we're just going to finish him off with a Lightning Bolt. Cool. We beat Burn at 1 life. Seems good. So versus Burn, I don't know if we bring in Thing in the Ice. It does stop their attackers, and we have some good unsummon ability with it, but I think we bring in Aether Gust. I don't think we bring in Force of Negation. It's just slightly too narrow. Ancestral Visions is good, but it's going to be really, really slow in this matchup. And I think with how Jace performed, normally I take Jace out from turns decks versus Bolt, but Jace is like so critical to this version of the deck, it feels like, that I don't think I can do that. So I think I'm going to cut a Ancestral Visions for an Aether Gust, even though Ancestral Visions is insane. I could bring in a Braid or Anger, but that's only good if my opponent has a bunch of dudes on board. Alright, we're going to run it back. At least we got game 1, so the potential for game 3 is there. I mean, this is not too life-intensive to play this hand. We get to start by suspending an Ancestral. We have a Bolt to slow our opponent down, as well as a Serum Visions to try and draw something else. I hope this is good enough. Opponent starts Sacred Foundry down to 18. Plays a Swift Spear. They hit us to 19. We untap. We draw Remand. Oh, Remand is a card I was supposed to take out. Versus Burn, it's generally terrible. So we can either Bolt Swift Spear, which will save us at least 2 life next turn, unless my opponent's playing Eidolon. Or we can suspend Ancestral. Honestly, it's probably Bolt. Pass the turn, because we basically have to shock there anyway. I could have fetched a basic island and suspended Ancestral. If my opponent's stuck on one land, that was definitely the play. We draw Sulphur Falls. So let's start Serum Visions. We draw Time Warp. Opt Mikokoro to the bottom. Suspend Ancestral. Pass the turn. If my opponent is stuck on one land, these Ancestrals may actually come off suspend this game. I could have left up Remand this turn, especially if my opponent's going to light up the stage, relying on this to reduce the cost. Okay, they drew a land. I really hope it's not Eidolon. When is it not? Okay, we untap. Ancestral Vision's ticking down. We draw Jace. Play Polluted Delta. Suspend Ancestral. We're probably going to fetch up a basic island and remand whatever they play this turn. We're probably going to have to Jace unsummon on Eidolon, which is not a great use of our mana, but we take 2 from Eidolon attacking. Okay, opponent's end step. Fetch with Polluted Delta. Get an island. Untap. Ancestral ticking down, Ancestral ticking down. We draw Steam Vents. Play Sulphur Falls. We have Time Warp. Like, worst case scenario, opponent has like Bolt, Bolt, then untaps, and then just like Bolt, Bolt again. Yeah, we gotta do this to slow them down. Even if they have the burn to just kill Jace here, which would really suck. We need them to basically spend their next turn recasting Eidolon. If they keep aiming face and they think Jace is too slow to actually worry about, next turn we can unsummon Time Warp and then start brainstorming with Jace at 1. Okay, Jace bought us 3 life. That's good. A little bit more technically because my opponent has to replay their Eidolon here. Okay. Time Warp is a little bit of a blessing in disguise because what it does is allows one of our Ancestral Visions to come off of Suspend, which is going to draw us potentially an answer. The problem is we have to spend at least 2 life to do it, so it's kind of like Time Warp triggered Eidolon here. And then we have to take 2 damage off of Ancestral Visions coming off Suspend. Alright. We untap. Ancestral Visions number 1. Target ourself. Take 2 damage. We draw Cryptic, Opt, Cryptic. Then draw Gemstone Caverns. So we have Cryptic plus Remand. So I'm going to main phase Cryptic to draw a card. We gotta leave up Remand this turn. Hopefully whatever they play this turn, we can Remand and that's their whole turn. That's the ideal situation. We have another 3 cards coming off of Ancestral, so we get hit with a Lava Spike. And we can even take another Bolt here. Time Warp to the top, absolutely. We untap. Ancestral Visions coming off Suspend. Target ourself. Then we draw Remand. Play Riverglide Pathway. Time Warp, target ourself. Play Arcanist. That's going to draw so many cards. If they have a Bolt and they're worried about Arcanist, they basically have now to kill it. Because otherwise we untap and we draw 3 cards when it attacks. That's so strong. Yeah, alright, they use their Bolt. Okay, we untap. We Miracle Temporal Mastery, but we don't have a lot of ways to take advantage of this mana. So, cast Temporal. Go to our main phase. Sulphur Falls. I could Serum Visions Remand Serum Visions, or I could, like, Cryptic Repulse the Shockland. Okay, Commandeer on top is not really what we want. I don't even really want this Flooded Strand. I'm gonna bounce my opponent's land and draw. Alright, we untap. We draw another Lightning Bolt. Play Steam Vents tapped, and we just gotta hope that 2 Remands and 2 Bolts is enough to get us wherever we need to go here. It's not super likely. Opponent passes, we untap and draw Lightning Bolt. Pass the turn. Boros Charm, Lightning Helix. I'm gonna Remand Lightning Helix. We can full price Commandeer. Alright. That only works for non-creature spells, though. Although, if my opponent recasts Lightning Helix, we can actually use it to gain life, which is hilarious. Alright, we untap. We draw Dreadhorde Arcanist. Play the Arcanist. Pass the turn. Recast Lightning Helix here. Please, don't play Boros Charm. I need that Lightning Helix. There it is. So cast Commandeer. Like, we're dead to land Bolt Boros Charm. Change the target to my opponent. Gain 3 life. Oh, we're out of double Bolt range. Now opponent probably has to kill Dreadhorde Arcanist. If they don't have enough burn to kill us right now, They gotta kill Dreadhorde Arcanist. Because otherwise we're drawing enough cards to stabilize, because we already have like 9 lands. And that's not an exaggeration, we actually have 9 lands. Alright, we untap. We draw an island. So, start Bolt on Eidolon, take 2 damage, down to 5. Back in double Bolt range, which is not thrilling. Go to combat. Attack with Arcanist. Flashback, Ancestral Visions. Target ourself. Okay. Go to second main. Cast Serum Visions. We draw Opt. Temporal Mastery on top. Island to the bottom. Play an island. And now we can Temporal Mastery on our opponent's turn. I should have played Dreadhorde Arcanist. That was a mistake. But I wasn't paying attention. Opponent plays a Goblin Guide. Okay. So that's going to get Lightning Bolt. Opponent passes to their second main. Another Eidolon. That gets a remand. Which draws us our Temporal Mastery. Nice. Oh, nice. Man, Commandeer stealing the Lightning Helix to gain ourselves life. That felt awesome. I will see you guys in round 3. Alrighty, round 4. Here we go. It's risky. We're on the draw. We have a lot of 1-mana spells, and hopefully we can get to that second land for Arcanist. Opponent is on Lurrus, so they are probably Death Shadow. I took a break mid-recording, and now I feel kind of like my brain's in a little bit of a fog. Like I'm distracted, but there's nothing that I'm thinking about. I'm just like not operating at full capacity right now, so I don't know what the deal is. Opponent mulliganed to 4, and they appear to be Mill. This is good news for us because, well, hopefully it's not like double Archive Trap, but the good news is we immediately get to Lightning Bolt Hedron Crab. Although maybe getting strategically milled a couple of times to allow Dreadhorde Arcanist to flashback powerful stuff could be a good thing, but second Crab. Fetch land. I mean, out of a hand of 4 for mill, double Crab is a pretty strong start. Alright, we untap, we draw Sulphur Falls, which is perfect. I think I'm just going to play Dreadhorde Arcanist here. They gotta have a kill spell for that, and they only have 1 card left in their hand. They did not fetch and shock. You're kidding! Opponent picks up Obero and replays it. Mills us for 3. Okay, well, we untap. We draw Remand. Play Serum Visions. We gotta get a land this turn. Opt. Temporal Mastery on top, Riverglide Pathway on top of Temporal Mastery. Opt. Putting Riverglide Pathway on top, so we know the top card of our deck is a Temporal Mastery. It's not gonna matter. My opponent's just gonna mill it, but... And they're guaranteed to mill because they can pick up Obero if they don't draw anything else. Okay, there goes the Temporal Mastery. 3 mana, opponent puts Lurrus into their hand. Then passes. Ancestral Visions ticking down. We untap. We draw Snapcaster. Alright, we're going to pass. I'm probably going to have to remand a Lurrus here. If they do something else, we'll just Snapcaster Bolt at end step. Okay. I could have responded to that with Snap Bolt. So remand Lurrus. We draw Dreadhorde Arcanist. Opt Serum Visions to the bottom. Draw land. Land is good. We untap. Ancestral Visions ticks down to 2. Draw Scalding Tarn. Probably want to fetch basically immediately, because it's the least chance that they're going to have a Archive Trap in hand. Never mind. They were apparently guaranteed to have one. They were apparently guaranteed to have 2, so we're just dead. Alright. Sure, you got me. So, Commandeer, Force of Negation, Mystical Dispute, Burst Lightnings. Ancestral Visions is going to be too slow, even though drawing the cards off of it is amazing, I think. Also, Jace is probably too slow. Temporal Mastery is going to be a little inconsistent. I think I want Thing in the Ice and Surgical. This feels way stronger. Oh, Remand is not as good. In fact, I think I'm going to drop the other Remand for a Braid. Yeah, alright, we'll try it like this. Not really doing the warp thing anymore, but I would like to play first. Well, we have Commandeer and we have Burst Lightning. I don't like this hand a ton, but I think it'll work. So start Sulphur Falls tapped, pass the turn. Opponent starts Flooded Strand, shocks a Watery Grave into a Ruin Crab. That is bad because Burst Lightning does not kill it. We draw an Opt. Well, let's hope we opt into a land. Sulphur Falls is a land, even if it is tapped. Pass the turn. Second Crab. Danger. Danger. Alright, we get milled for 6. Opponent passes. We untap. We draw Time Warp. Play Arcanist. Pass the turn. Opponent leads on Blood Chief's Thirst. So we're going to gain control of that, pitching Cryptic and Time Warp. Yeah! Target Ruin Crab. It's like they Blood Chief's Thirst their own guy and then cast Mind Rot. That's basically what happened here. Alright, we untap. We draw another Arcanist. So go to combat, attack, cast Lightning Bolt, kill Crab, hit our opponent for 1. They go to 16. Okay. The reason I did that instead of casting Burst Lightning out of hand is I really want to get this other Arcanist down in case they have another removal spell. I think we're effectively drawing cards out of the grave, and we're increasing the number of spells cast every turn by having a second Arcanist. We can always opt for another land. It was kind of tempting to leave up Brazen Borrower, but okay, we mill 3. We draw Brazen Borrower. So I'm going to opt and try and hit another land. We really, really need one. Dreadhorde Arcanist to the bottom. Draw Serum Visions. Alright, time to go to combat. Attack our opponent for 2. So we're going to cast Opt, and then cast Serum Visions, so that Serum Visions will resolve first. We draw an Opt. Lightning Bolt on top. Snow-covered island on top of that. Cast Opt. Leave island on top. Hit our opponent for 2. We're doing this so that we can Petty Theft the Mesmeric Orb, potentially. We also have Burst Lightning plus Opt if we need to. Or we can opt into Lightning Bolt if my opponent plays like Ruin Crab. They mill Polluted Delta, they mill Island. Opponent shocks Watery Grave. This might be Field. Okay, it is Glimpse. Let me think. So next turn, we can hit them for 8, because they're gonna mill Lightning Bolt here. So it'll be Bolt, Bolt, and then 2 damage. And then we have Burst Lightning. That takes them to 2. It is better to draw the Bolt now, rather than deal with the Mesmeric Orb. Okay, we get milled for 10. Opponent is passing. Lightning Bolt our opponent. I could have Burst Lightninged here instead if I was worried about Surgical Extraction, which maybe I should have been. We untap, we mill a lot. I guess Surgical Extraction would also... No, it wouldn't. It would remove all of our damage. Okay. Draw Sulphur Falls. So play Sulphur Falls. Go to combat. Attack our opponent. Flashing back Lightning Bolt and Lightning Bolt. So much damage in so short of a period of time. So bolt their face. They Force of Negation, pitching Force of Negation. Okay. Well, we can't do anything about that, but bolt our opponent's face. Hit them for 2 down to 4. Pass the turn. I could have cast Serum Visions here. I don't think I should. Opponent mills Polluted Delta and Visions of Beyond. I mean, if they can just activate Field and have 2 Archive Traps, we're dead, but they play a land, which kind of indicates that's not what they have. Okay, Visions of Beyond, the Ancestral Recall. That gives them a pretty good chance of hitting what they need to hit. So if they activate Field here, we have 2 options, and we only really have 1 option. If they activate Field, the land we get, we just kick Burst Lightning with the mana. Okay, they play Ruin Crab. They've already played a land this turn. I think they're just playing a blocker. They're going to Surgically Extract Lightning Bolt. Well, we're holding Burst Lightning, and we've already flashed back 3 of our Lightning Bolts. That's pretty good. Nice. Alright, moving on to game 3. What do we do here? Do we make any adjustments? I don't think so. I think we just run it back. Opponent gets to start. We have double Commandeer. Alright, we're keeping this. We're keeping this because we have pretty decent pressure with a thing in the ice. Okay, opponent starts Crab. The only way this gets better is if I top deck a Bolt right here. Oh, yes! That's delicious. Look at this, Sorry, that Crab is actually a Lightning Rod. Pass the turn. They Surgical Lightning Bolt? No! I should have commandeered that! Ugh. That was a mistake, because now they know we have Commandeer. I F6 because I was like, they're not doing anything else. Kano. This wouldn't be a Kano video if I didn't punt. But that was a mistake. Because if I could have turned that around on them to steal their Hedron Crabs, and we still got to keep Bolt in our deck, potentially, like, the upside is massive. Because we have Snapcaster Mages, potentially to get back a Bolt, that sort of a thing. I can still flip the other cards that they have around on them, short of Mesmeric Orb, but... Okay, opponent plays a Snow Swamp. The question is, would I commandeer a Glimpse the Unthinkable? I think the answer is yes. And I'm going to exile Snapcaster and our other commandeer. It's unlikely we will use the second commandeer. They're playing like they have Force of Negation. That's the only reason that they're not, like, auto-yielded, I think. So Glimpse our opponent. If they have another Surgical and they Surgical Commandeer, then pitching Commandeer to Commandeer was absolutely the correct choice. Well, we basically milled all of their Hedron Crabs, so I call that a victory. We're going to need to flip this thing in the ice, though. Yeah, not hitting that Lightning Bolt was a massive, massive punt. Plaything in the ice. Pass the turn. Now I need to kind of like opt into a land, then play Thing in the Ice, and then just like draw a bunch of cantrips. That's what we need. Alright, we untap. We draw Dreadhorde Arcanist, which doesn't really do anything, but neither does Thing in the Ice. So play Thing in the Ice, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They're missing land drops as well. Okay, they cast Maddening Cacophony. We mill a bunch of stuff. This does make Arcanist good, though. This means Arcanist can potentially start flashing back spells, which will help as spells cast for Thing in the Ice. Hope they don't Surgical Opt. That would be annoying. If we draw a land, we could also Snapcaster Opt trying to hit a land, but I think getting Arcanist down as quickly as possible is probably the goal. Alright, we untap. We draw Serum Visions. Okay, they are Surgicaling Sulfur Falls, so they're gonna try and force us to fetch. Well, they got our Sulfur Falls. They also want to look at our hand, apparently. Yeah, I think we play Arcanist. I'm glad they did not Surgical Opt. Play Arcanist, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. Opponent drowns in the lock Arcanist. We untap. Draw Misty. I'm gonna cast Serum Visions. 2 counters. Removed. Draw Brazen Borrower. Flooded Strand to the bottom. Arcanist to the bottom. I'll play Misty, but I don't think I'm going to crack Misty basically at any point. Not unless it would be, like, lethal. When it puts Lurrus in their hand. You know what? I'm going to do it. Get a Steam Vents tapped. Oh, we dodged. Sweet. Draw Serum Visions. So let's... Serum Visions. Counters off things. We draw Cryptic. I'm going to put Island and Riverglide on top, because I actually kind of want to draw lands. We can Brazen Borrower, Petty Theft, like a Mesmeric Orb or a Crab. I would even Petty Theft Lurrus if they played Lurrus. Alright. We untap. Draw land. This is another Surgical? Okay. Play an Island, pass the turn. We do have Cryptic mana available now. And we are very close to flipping things in the ice to kill our opponent. Drown in the lock, huh? Yeah, let's counter and draw. This guarantees a 5th land drop, and our things only need 1 mana, or one other instant or sorcery cast to flip. Hopefully they don't have, like... I was going to say a counter spell, but... Alright. Opponent untaps. They play Ruin Crab. Then they play Mesmeric Orb. So we're going to mill a bunch. We draw Opt. Well, Opt flips the Crab. So I think I'm going to... Or flips Awakened Horror and bounces the Crab, so I think that's fine. I am going to take a Commandeer. You know what? Go to combat. I'm not sure what I would Commandeer, but I like having the option. Swing for 7. They go to 9. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps, they mill 3, milling Bloodchief's Thirst, Glimpse the Unthinkable, and Snow-Covered Island. They replay the Crab. I could Mystical Dispute that, actually. Probably should have. Didn't think about it. So we're getting milled for 6. Okay. Now they play Lurrus. Let me think about this. If we play Brazen Borrower... We hit them for 3, they're going to go to 5. We lose Petty Theft, though. If we draw a burn spell, which would be Burst Lightning, they're dead. Because we can Burst Lightning, Snapcaster, Burst Lightning. We can already Snapcaster a Braid to kill something on board if we have to, or want to. They have no cards in hand. I think because they have no cards in hand, I'm going to Petty Theft Lurrus. We are milling a bunch, though. No, I'm still going to Petty Theft Lurrus. And I'm going to Petty Theft Lurrus because if my opponent doesn't block with the crab, and we mill a burn spell, we kill them with just Snapcaster on the burn spell. So we mill a bunch of cards that aren't burn spells. We draw Dreadhorde. I can Snapcaster a Braid to kill the crab. Then my opponent's line is probably play Lurrus, play crab, but they go to 1. The alternative is I just attack and then play Dreadhorde Arcanist. Or I can Abrade the Mesmeric Orb. I think we're definitely attacking here. Yeah, we're just going to attack, and I think we're going to Snapcaster Abrade the Mesmeric Orb, because if we don't, we're dead to a Glimpse the Unthinkable. Okay, opponent snap blocks. That's fine. We can't Snapcaster a counterspell for Lurrus because we don't have a 2-mana counterspell. We have Mystical Dispute, that's it. Yeah, I think we got a Snapcaster a Braid for Mesmeric Orb. If my opponent like top decks a land and can replay Mesmeric Orb, that's pretty bad. Okay. Opponent untaps. Problem is they can play Lurrus and then play Crab and have a bunch of chump blockers. I think I chose the wrong line. So here's Lurrus. They play Crab, they mill Burst Lightning. We draw Surgical. Okay. Go to combat. We attack with both. Opponent immediately chumps, but keeps Lurrus. They take 2, go to 6. So we play Arcanist. And we're definitely surgicaling on my opponent's draw step. The question is what? If we take a creature, they just replay the creature, and then they have Obero. I think we take Mesmeric Orb, because them replaying a creature is going to mill us for lethal if they have a fetch land. But us taking Mesmeric Orb, does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes sense. We need to surgical something on their draw step. We've played 2 Maddening Cacophonies, 2 Glimpses, 2 Drown Forces, all of their crabs, basically all of their Mesmeric Orbs. So stop on my opponent's draw step. And the question is, what do we surgical? It needs to be something that they can't just play on their draw step. Probably something that kills us. So it probably should be Maddening Cacophony or Glimpse. I think that's my best bet. So I'm going to surgical. Do they play Maddening Cacophony more, or do they play Glimpse? Glimpse mills more, but Maddening Cacophony is easier to cast. There's 2 of each. I'm going to go with Cacophony. They drew Fatal Push. That's bad, because they definitely push Arcanist. They can push Arcanist, play Crab, pick up Obero, and replay it. So they play the Crab. They pick up Obero. They replay it, mill us. Yeah, this game comes down to that first surgical. Literally the fact that we don't have Bolt for reach. They need to push Arcanist here. There's not really any choice. Because if they don't, we can Burst Lightning to kill Lurrus, and then they don't gain life. Honestly, we need to draw our other Burst Lightning, too. That would also be very, very useful. Yep. Alright. We untap. We draw Cryptic. That actually kills our opponent. Holy crap. So let's tap all creatures our opponents control, draw a card. I completely forgot about Cryptic Command. I was like so certain we were just dead. Well, we can tap them and just attack. Opponent definitely made the right choices, though. And we definitely misplayed that game. We just got really lucky. Well, we're 3-1 going into round 5, so I'll see you guys there. Alrighty. Round 5. I would like to play first. No, this hand is too risky. This hand is a lot better. So I'm going to keep this one, and I'm going to put back, I think, an Arcanist. So play Riverglide Pathway, suspend Ancestral, pass the turn. Opponent is a green deck. Come on, Lightning Bolt. We untap, Ancestral Vision ticking down. We draw Sulphur Falls. That's good. Do I want to leave up Remand, or do I want to play Dreadhorde Arcanist? I think I want to play Dreadhorde Arcanist. It's not an island! That is not an island. Cast Serum Visions. I'm glad we had something to do, but that was not the correct choice. That was terrible. Oh, Kano. Kano, what's wrong with you? Leave Temporal Mastery on top. Pass the turn. I swear I'm good at this game. Alright. Opponent. They play Windswept Heath. Crack Windswept Heath. Then they play Wall of Roots. Okay, so they're like some sort of Court of Calling deck, almost guaranteed. Okay, another Goose. That means they're probably straightly proactive, or strictly proactive. Straightly? What the... They're probably pretty strictly a proactive, like, Collected Company style deck. So Miracle Temporal. Unless I get Spell Pierced here and just absolutely obliterated. So we go to our main, play Misty, crack Misty, get a Steam Vents tapped, untap. Yeah, if we'd have resolved that Dreadhorde Arcanist, this turn would have been great. Okay, I think the plan is to not play Arcanist here, as crazy as that sounds. I think I need to have Remand available, and if I don't remand anything, there's the potential for us to opt into another Temporal Mastery, and if that happens, we definitely win this game. Opponent plays Wooded Foothills and cracks. This is probably like Kiki Chord, actually. The more I'm looking at it, the more that's what it looks like. Except there's no red mana. Okay, or it's just Heliod combo. So, Remand Heliod. They can use all of their mana to replay him. We draw River Glide Pathway. They sack a food. They sack a food. Oh, you have to activate Wall of Roots, I think, as a sorcery on Moto. There's been several bugs with Wall of Roots across Moto's history, and I wouldn't doubt that this is one of them. Opponent is struggling with the tap ability. Okay, they play Heliod, and we don't have any other things we're going to do this turn, so we're going to opt Bolt, a little bit too late, draw another Arcanist. Alright, we untap, Ancestral Vision's coming off Suspend, so hopefully we hit some very good draws here. Wait a minute, isn't the first card I drew Temporal Mastery? Okay, well, that's a little unfortunate. Play River Glide Pathway, pass the turn, leave up Cryptic Command. Opponent has 4 mana. I feel like I should have gotten a Temporal Mastery there, but what do I know? Opponent plays Arid Mesa, cracks Arid Mesa. They play Scavenging Ooze, so we're not just dead. They add green, white, they make a food, then they are passing. I kind of want to unsummon Heliod and tap all my opponent's creatures, so that's actually what I'm going to do here. Alright, so my opponent only has 1 green mana right now. We draw a Snapcaster Mage, shock Steam Vents, and I'm going to Time Warp. I want to get to a 6th land, so I have Snapcaster Cryptic. Actually, that doesn't matter, because my opponent has Scavenging Ooze. That's the word for it. Well, we draw Arcanist. Snapcaster doesn't do anything. I could play Arcanist and unsummon... Or I could play Jace and unsummon Scavenging Ooze. They could make a food... I don't think they can kill Jace, actually, if I do that, so I'm going to try. I could also just Brainstorm, put Temporal Mastery on top of my deck, but if I do that, Jace definitely dies. It's really strong, though, because I can, like, stick my Dreadhorde Arcanists. Hang on, let me think about this. If I unsummon the Scavenging Ooze, my opponent has 5 mana next turn, potentially 6 with land. They could then... try to think if they can make a Goose big enough to attack and kill Jace. I think the unsummon is correct. We'll find out. Opponent adds green, eats Cryptic. Okay, they lose Scavenging Ooze. They untap. They do not seem to be a traditional build of this deck, so I'm not sure what's going to happen here. They shock Temple Garden. Actually, they might be able to kill Jace. I don't think they can stick Heliod and gain 2 instances of life, though, because there's no creatures in the grave. So it's just Collected Company. It's Walking Ballista. Are they going to ping down Jace? They are. Then they're going to play Ranger Captain. They may sack Ranger Captain immediately. We don't have any powerful... I guess we have Remand that we could flashback with Snapcaster on their turn. But the other option is just playing out a bunch of Arcanists. They get Gilded Goose. Opponent wants more mana. Okay, kind of hoping for a land. Okay. No Ranger Captain. So opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana next turn. I'm going to play Jace. And we're going to Brainstorm and hopefully hit a Lightning Bolt. None of those are Lightning Bolt, but one is a land. So we don't want Ancestral Visions. And while I can put back Temporal Mastery, if I crack Flooded Strand before then, we don't get any value out of it. I think we're still going to try. Pass the turn. I mean, somehow if flashing Snapcaster saves us... But, like, next turn my opponent can just kill Jace and then sack Ranger Captain on our upkeep, and then what are we going to do? So I'm pretty sure they can just assemble the combo this turn. If they play a land... No, there's still a little bit of mana off. Because it is like, what is that? 3 mana for Heliod, 2 mana for Heliod activation, and then 4 mana for Ballista to have the full combo. Just the power is that you can do that in basically any order, and there's a bunch of ways to reduce the cost over multiple turns. Okay, opponent plays Scavenging Ooze. That does make Snapcaster significantly worse. Opponent goes to combat. They're attacking Jace with the Goose. And with a Ranger Captain. They can gain 1 life at instant speed. I can flash Snapcaster to block Ranger Captain, but then I lose the Temporal Mastery on top of my deck. We get to keep Jace and have a Brainstorm. But then we have no instant speed tricks at all. Yeah, I think it's worth it. I've changed my mind. I think keeping Jace alive is important. So flash in, Snappy. Target doesn't matter. Block here. Opponent can exile Walking Ballista out of their grave to gain a life, put a counter on Gilded Goose, and deal 1 damage to Jace to take him to 2. Don't think that matters. Let's see where they put the counter. Okay, that is what they're doing. Jace down to 2. We untap. Okay, no non-creature spells this turn. We draw Snapcaster, which is actually really good. Well, is it? Not really. Brainstorm. Okay, Lightning Bolt makes me feel better about myself. Play a Snow-Covered Island. So we can bolt something. We can Snapcaster Remand. We have Opt to try and hit something. I can play Arcanist just to have a blocker. And then if they don't have the combo, we're okay. Yeah, alright. We have Bolt, Snap, Remand, and our opponent has an active Scavenging Ooze, so I doubt that works, but maybe. We could also try and opt into an answer. So I guess let's just hope our opponent doesn't have it. Alright, opponent's going to go to combat. They attack Jace, So we can opt first. Another Arcanist. Oh yeah, that's right, we brainstormed. Okay, block here. There are 3 creatures in the grave. So in response, we'll try bolting the bird. They'll eat a creature in response. Okay, well Jace is gonna die, because if I flash Snapcaster in... Yeah... Does that matter? I was gonna say, I can flash Snapcaster in and target Lightning Bolt, but I don't think that matters, because my opponent can just eat Lightning Bolt. They have enough green mana. Unless for some reason they don't, but then that taps them out of green mana? No, I think we're just gonna let Jace die, which is unfortunate. Unless they're doing something else here. Giving something lifelink. Yeah, I'm gonna try Snapcastering the Lightning Bolt. It's not gonna work, but... Okay, yep, they eat the Lightning Bolt. They gain a bunch of life, Jace dies, we lose Dreadhorde Arcanist. We probably should have just let Jace die. Alright, we untap, we draw an island, play Serum Visions, Temporal Mastery, Ancestral Visions, Time Warp, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can cast Temporal Mastery, that matters. Ancestral Visions to the bottom, Time Warp to the top. Go to combat. Alright, go to combat. We hit our opponent for 2. They take it and go to 21. Play an island. Temporal Mastery. Untap. This works out perfectly, because then we can play Dreadhorde Arcanist. Go to combat, attack our opponent for 2. We're going to have some really good draws, but we have a number of draws to try and find what we need. And I think tapping my opponent out into that Time Warp might have been the only way we won, even if it felt incorrect at the time. And it may actually have been incorrect, but I still think this is probably the only line that actually won us the game. Oh my god. Yeah, we were just off to the races. This is one of those games that, like, Time Warps just wins. So go to combat, attack, flashback Ancestral Visions, draw a bunch of cards. Okay, we hit an opt. Opponent takes 3. So we opt, commandeer to the bottom, play Mikokoro, activate Mikokoro, suspend Ancestral, untap, Ancestral Vision's ticking down. Not that that's probably likely to ever resolve, but draw land, activate me Kokoro, draw Lightning Bolt. I can bolt, Remanding Bolt. I can also bolt Gilded Goose or Scavenging Ooze, and then flash it back to kill Scavenging Ooze. That's probably worth it. I can also just get a redraw off of casting a Serum Visions. I think we're gonna need the remand next turn. I could opt and try and hit like our last Time Warp, I think. I could also opt and try and hit another Snapcaster. I think we only play 2, actually. Yeah, okay, I think Bolt here to stop our opponent from interacting with our grave. Go to combat. Attack with both creatures. Flashback Bolt. Killing Skoos. Opponent, no blocks. Hit them for 3, they go to 13. Play an island, pass the turn. Pray Remand is good enough. If we can make it till Ancestral Visions comes off, we'll draw like 6 cards, and that's almost guaranteed victory. The issue is we gotta answer this Gilded Goose somehow, otherwise we can't even attack anymore. They shock Stomping Ground. They play Gilded Goose number 3, which gives them a food. I think we have another Cryptic command. Okay, opponent sacks the food for green. Renegade Rallier. Okay, well, we have to remand this. It's not great, but that forces them to use all of their mana to get back Skoos if they want it. We draw land, which is less than ideal. This explains why they're playing the Goose instead of birds, though. This Renegade Rallier shenanigans. Spike Feeder is infinite life, and we can't mill him out. It's also infinite damage. No, it's not. But we've lost both of our Jaces, so we can't even Time Warp Chain into killing them there. So versus our opponent's deck, we'll go Burst Lightnings, Abrade, Anger. Commandeer's out, because as much as snagging a Collected Company would be fun, I don't think it's going to be the way that we're going to try and win this. Remand's out, Aether Gust in. No, I might need Remand, actually. What am I cutting? I don't need the Abrade for just damage. Got like a Serum Visions and an Opt. No, we really want those for Arcanist, though. I don't know what to cut here. If that was game 1, and that main deck Skoos really got us. I'm running 61. Alright, we'll play first. Tap land, but multiple bolts and an Ancestral. That's kind of tough to give up, but I think I have to. Okay, I'm going to keep, and I'm going to put back an Opt. We will start Fetch, Shock, Serum Visions, Polluted Delta, and River Glide Pathway. Both of these to the bottom. Pass the turn. Oh, before I forget, I'm sorry about the weird ordering of videos this week. I had to help a friend move. They play the Goose. We untap. Draw Lightning Bolt. I think Lightning Bolt is better here. Because while Aether Gust potentially has the ability to make them redraw, I really want to get this Ancestral Vision suspended. Pass the turn. We might have a better Aether Gust target, but we'll find out if I made the right choice there or not. Yeah, but I had to help a friend move, and it is completely like... I came home last night, and like I had intended to record then, but I'm so glad I recorded 2 videos in a row, because I did not have the time or the energy. I was moving for 7 hours yesterday, and I was the only person who could lift something heavier than like 25-ish pounds for an extended period of time, so I had to lift all of the heavy stuff. And man, did it hurt. We just got Wheel of Sun and Moon. What a jerk. Okay, well, I'm going to cast Serum Visions here, and then make my decision of what I'm doing. We draw Jace. I think Misty on top, Temporal Mastery on top of Misty. Play an island. Pass the turn. I'm probably going to Aether Gust that Wheel of Sun and Moon on my opponent's end step. Opponent plays a Temple Garden tapped. And do a Walking Ballista on 1. Okay. Gust Wheel of Sun and Moon. They put it on the bottom. Okay. So this Temporal Mastery is not going to do a whole lot. other than take another counter off of Ancestral Visions, which does matter. So Temporal Mastery, next turn, we draw Misty, Ancestral goes to 1, and we can play Jace and then like Fate Seal ourselves. So play Misty. I do want multiple red sources. So shock Steam Vents. If my opponent plays a land, they can put a counter on Ballista, then hit Jace for 2 and ping him twice. So yeah, we need to Fate Seal ourselves here. +2, look at the top of our own deck. We'll put Op to the bottom, pass the turn. What we really want is to Ancestral Vision into a land and Time Warp. Okay, opponent plays Horizon Canopy. They play a Spike Feeder. They attack Jace for 1. Jace goes to 4. We untap. Ancestral Visions coming off Suspend. Ancestral Visions. Target ourself. We draw Anger of the Gods, Lightning Bolt, Opt, Riverglide Pathway. Okay. Brainstorm immediately. There's Time Warp. So put back Ancestral Visions, Riverglide Pathway, Sulphur Falls, Time Warp ourself. Next turn, we untap, draw Riverglide Pathway. We're going to opt over the Ancestral Visions, put that on the bottom. Draw Burst Lightning, Brainstorm. There's another Time Warp. Okay, that matters a ton, actually. So we'll put back Burst Lightning and Burst Lightning, Scalding Tarn. I'm going to shuffle those away. Get an island. Time Warp, target ourself. Next turn, we untap, draw an island, Brainstorm. I'm looking for like a Cryptic right now, but I don't think I'm going to find it. So put back Pathway Island, play Pathway, and I'm going to cast Anger of the Gods. Opponent was F6'd. And we're going to play Dreadhorde Arcanist and pass. I don't think my opponent can kill me from this board state, and then if we get Snapcaster Time Warp off, we're golden. Opponent, like, worst thing they could play for us here would be a Scavenging Ooze, which it looks like that's what they're tapping for. Okay, it's a Wall of Roots. They add green. Green and green. Eldritch Evolution. Then get a 4-drop or less. Is it Heliod? Just to, like, set up for the combo kill next turn or something? Skyclave. So they're going to kill Jace. I think we've got him, though. Because we have enough damage and we have a free Time Warp in the grave. Well, we have free bolts and... yeah, okay. So, start Snapcaster Mage. Target Time Warp. Time Warp ourself. Lightning Bolt Skyclave. We get an illusion. Go to combat. Attack with Dreadhorde Arcanist. Flashing back Lightning Bolt. Bolt our opponent. Okay, next turn we untap. Draw Riverglide Pathway. Play it. Go to combat. So we hit them for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lethal. Okay, cool. I didn't know if we had to, like, play Burst Lightning kicked and then try and kick it again out of the grave or something. But my brain hurts right now. So, flashback Lightning Bolt. Bolt our opponent. Cast a kicked Burst Lightning for lethal. I think that's the first time I've ever done that. Okay. I am going to restart the client in between games so that I use up this clock and not the game clock, but I will have to re-sideboard. I don't remember what I had taken out for Aether Gust. Or, I mean, I don't remember what other 2 cards in this board I cut. I think it may have been the Remands. Alright, well, we're going to try it like this anyway. Hopefully it's good enough. We have to be very fast with our clock. Yeah, it's hard to turn down a hand on the draw where we cast a whole bunch of cantrips. I would like to draw a Steam Vents, a fetch land. Anything I can use to bolt this would be fantastic. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Fetch, shock, lightning bolt. Pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Temple Garden. They play a Voice of Resurgence. We untap. We draw Dreadhorde Arcanist. So, play Riverglide Pathway, play Dreadhorde Arcanist, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They play a Stomping Ground. They go to combat, they attack. I don't think they can do... No, they can. They have Walking Ballista. We'll take 2. It's kind of important this stays alive. 3 mana. Opponent Eldritch Evolution. They get an Elemental. It's probably a Skyclave Apparition. It is. So they take Dreadhorde Arcanist. We untap. We draw Steam Vents. So, shock Steam Vents. Play Serum Visions. We draw Ancestral. Anger the Gods to the top for sure. Suspend Ancestral. Pass the turn. I gotta hope that our opponent doesn't have like a Burnt and Forge Tender or something like that. That would be the worst. I'm just F6ing here because I'm not gonna play a cantrip. I'm just gonna draw. Green, green. Wall of Roots. Opponent plays Courser. So they're gonna hit us for a bunch. We untap. Ancestral ticking down. Problem is, Anger the Gods only kills 2 creatures. It does massively reduce the clock, but I think we gotta go maximum greed and try and opt into a land. There's the land. Play a land. Fetch. Get an island. Anger. This does leave us with a blocker, technically. Opponent's top deck is Skyclave Apparition. They play Gaddock Teague. So they're holding Skyclave Apparition. They have yet another Skyclave Apparition on top. I'm going to block because we are at such low life. So we cannot cast Temporal if we hit it unless we Aether Gust or Brazen Borrower. So pass the turn. Wait for my opponent's draw step. Okay. Opponent goes to combat. They attack and attack. So I'm going to Aether Gust Gaddock Teague. They put it on top of their deck. Petty Theft Courser. We untap. Ancestral Vision's ticking down. We draw an island. Play an island. Serum Visions. Ancestral Vision, Jace, Lightning Bolt. Put Jace on top, put Lightning Bolt over Jace, suspend another Ancestral, pass the turn. So I'm probably going to Lightning Bolt Gaddock Teague this turn. Okay, there's Gaddock Teague. Opponent plays Courser. So I think my opponent is holding 2 Skyclave Apparitions. Actually, we are going to brazenly borrow this turn. So we can top deck Lightning Bolt. We get to draw a bunch of cards first. So draw a bunch of cards. We draw Lightning Bolt, Dreadhorde Arcanist, Jace. Start Bolt Teague. Go to combat. Hit our opponent for 3. And I'm going to play Jace and actually unsummon Courser. Or is Brainstorm better? I'm going to unsummon Courser. We can kill a Skyclave Apparition and get a big token using Snapcaster plus Bolt. Play the Wall of Roots. They're going to Skyclave Apparition, taking out Jace, of course. Alright. We untap. Ancestral Vision's ticking down. We draw an island. So play an island. Opt Anger to the bottom. Draw Steam Vents. Go to combat. We have no counter spell that can hit another Skyclave Apparition. So we attack our opponent for 3, take them to 9, play Arcanist, and now we have Snap Bolt. Okay, opponent untaps. They do have a food they can crack to gain life, so we have to be careful doing damage calculation. We will get to draw an absolute metric load of cards if this Dreadhorde Arcanist survives, which it does not. And our opponent will be able to replay Courser this turn. So Snapcaster, target Lightning Bolt, block, because we're not going to make it through the walls in time. We do get a 4/4 token. Opponent's going to play Courser. Voice on top of their deck. Lightning Bolt their face. Any Time Warp kills them. Any Lightning Bolt kills them. There it is. Victory. Victory to Temporal Mastery. Oh, so close. Go to combat. They have something for this? Oh, they can gain life. Okay. So we get a redraw, actually. Attack, attack. I forgot about the food, and I forgot they could activate Wall of Roots in that manner. I got really excited and then really bummed. Okay, opponent chumps with the wall. Play Steam Vents tapped. Pass the turn. We untap. Ancestral Vision's coming off suspend. There's a huge chance of killing our opponent again. Most of our deck will kill our opponent. And yeah, that'll do it. So go to combat. Attack and attack. Yeah, we must not be drawing these Temporal Masteries, like, first. I mean, I know this time we didn't, but I'm going to cast this because it's a way more swag way to win than Bolt. Yeah, buddy! We 4-1'd with this deck! This deck's awesome! So I know I made a lot of incorrect choices, but we're going to open our treasure chest first, then I'll talk about them for a minute. So 10 play points and a Thought Reflection. 25 play points and a Skarg Goliath. 5 play points, a Siege Gang Commander, and a Baron Sengir. Or, not Baron Sengir, it's a different one. 45 play points and a Walking Archive. And final treasure chest, 10 play points, and Settle the Wreckage. Settle the Wreckage at least playable. So let's do the wrap up here. Nope, that's the jank one. This is the super jank one. That's not the one that I'm looking for. What was this called? It was like Ancestral Dreadhorde turns. Here we are. Okay, so I love this deck. This deck plays Temporal Mastery, so it's great. What felt amazing? I was really surprised with how often Dreadhorde Arcanist stuck around and was actually buying us value. Dreadhorde Arcanist is a you must answer this card or you will lose this game kind of card. We have 16 cards it can cast, and really, except for maybe one situation, didn't have any in the grave for it to cast. Like, it always had something it could hit in our grave, is what I'm trying to say, which was fantastic. We several times actually flashback Ancestral Visions, despite my initial thought of that's probably difficult. It was really interesting how we could either like be the deck that took 1,000,000 turns, or we could be the deck that casts 45 lightning bolts while attacking with snapcasters and backing ourselves up with like a counter burn kind of strategy. It was really interesting. I like this style of deck because this style of Time Warp deck isn't like, I have to take 45 turns to win. It's, I need a couple of extra turns over you to burn you out or run you over. And I think Brazen Borrower is an excellent threat for that. I think in my initial match that I played, siding out Jace was definitely wrong. And being able to brainstorm, put Temporal Mastery on top of the deck was just utterly fantastic. I was super, super happy with how that turned out. Honestly, like, it kind of feels necessary because of how this deck functions, but I think, weirdly, Remand is one of the, like, hardest cards to make work. Because frequently it's like, I want to tap out, I want to be proactive in the early game. I don't want to hold up a Remand, but it's necessary for us to get a few of the victories that we got. I definitely shouldn't have beaten that mill player. We punted super hard, but then we top decked the final Cryptic Command for the victory, and that was pretty sweet. I'm pretty happy with the sideboard. I don't know about the Thing in the Ice plan. It was nice versus mill because we needed a fast beat stick to actually win. I almost want to have like a Burst Lightning in the main, just looking at it, because of how good it was 90% of the time. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's all my thoughts. I'm a little bit brain dead at the moment, so I'm sorry that I don't have better commentary, but I really like this deck, and I think this deck is very good. Daniel Wong, you've been brewing an excellent deck, and I want you to know that even a blithering idiot like myself can pilot it to a 4-1 victory, and with a little bit more luck or a little bit more brain power, could have easily trophied with this deck. So, thank you. Somebody in my comments, who I don't remember the name of right now, suggested this to me. Somebody else who I think is also in the Turns Discord. I want to give you a shout out, but I don't remember your name, and I'm sorry. Brain... Yeah, I think I've rambled enough. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more of it, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined, and remember you can follow me on Twitch. Same username over there as you find me on here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though the last few have been earlier than that. I'm trying to find another time that I can start streaming. I want to start streaming twice a week. I think that's very important. And so keep an eye out for that. If you have suggestions on times that would work for you, please leave them in the comments below. That would be helpful to me. I want to do some more user content stuff, so I'm trying to figure out a way to set up a good strategy for a user moto tournament with an interesting rule set so enough people can participate and whatnot. Yeah, I think that's all I got. So, thank you all for watching. I want you to know you're all wonderful human beings, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!